guys, welcome back to the new and improved Casting Commons, the show where we talk and discuss Pauper. I am your host Teasdale, and this is my co-host, Crash of the Rhino Beetles himself, Reese.
Hello.
It's Pauper legal, and it fits in. Crashing, you see, because Magic Online. I don't know how long I can keep going new and improved with all my fancy editing skills. Like, I don't know how long I can... Is it still improved?
Is that why you said it? I was like confused at why we were new and improved.
You know, new logo, new editing, it all looks fancy. There's a cool new intro at the start that you obviously want to see him with all the circles, and he goes, woo, woo, woo. So, well, yeah. So, Paul, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so this week I've played a fair bit of Magic, actually. Played Legacy F&M again with Painter. I was going to play Rug Delver, but I didn't quite get it finished in time. So I played Painter again. Didn't go as well this time. I got pretty unlucky versus the Boros Initiative deck, where I basically needed to top an artifact in like 5 cards, and I didn't. And then the third game, he just Boros Initiative me. Outside, yeah, in every format basically, it's legal. Outside of Legacy, I've been trying to test Pauper on Magic Online, but I started a league, got 2 games in, and then Magic Online crashed, and then it come back up, and then I tried to play the league again, got 1 game in, and it crashed again. So whenever Magic Online. Yeah, no, whenever Magic Online sorts itself out, I'll be testing some Pauper again. That was with White Weenie, which seems fine, but I think I'm probably not going to end up playing it for Northern Pauper Open. It's just not really my style, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, I've been testing a bit of Standard. People are actually starting to play Standard again now. It's an RCQ format, and it's not rotating every 10 minutes. And it seems fine. I've just built Mono Red because it was super cheap in paper and on Modo. And I opened Arena again for the first time in a long time. I think when you go on, it's like a recap or a level recap from the season that you last played. Right. And mine was like March 2021 or something like that. So that's how long I haven't played Arena for. But I had enough wildcards and that to build this standard Mono Red deck. And I thought it's convenient. I put it on my phone. Like when I'm doing other stuff, I can just also play Arena. But I don't know, with Arena, it just doesn't feel like playing Magic. It's so like fast and like flashing things at you. I'm like trying to read cards and they're like flashing on the screen and then they're gone. It feels more like playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds than actually playing Magic.
Yeah. I get that, to be fair. It does actually have that sort of feel to it. You know, you're sitting catching up on reading on a card and it's back to your turn. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's like...
Yeah. And I'm like trying to... Because I was just playing on my phone. Like, I haven't bothered to download it on my computer because I can just play Magic Online if I'm on my computer. But yeah, playing on my phone, I'm like, I'll click on this card and it brings it up on the screen. And halfway through reading it, like, I'm now in my turn. My timer's ticking down. I'm like trying to click off this card and I can't get it off my screen. So, it's definitely a learning curve. I would say to me, it's harder than playing Magic Online. Yeah. And people complain at Magic Online for having a learning curve to the client.
Yeah, I think obviously the big thing with Magic Online is the learning curve's very much like, here's a client, do what you want with it, and you kind of have to figure out what you want to do with it. Yeah. And Arena like kind of sort of tells you because there's not really else much you can do.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. Like I'm on my phone with it if I'm ever on it, and it's like, yeah, you press this card, and it's like, why won't you please leave my screen? You're taking up half the screen, and then you're like, you're clicking off this, and then all of a sudden it like unfreezes, and then you've already stroked your mate's pet or something, and it's gone mental. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on? I don't need any of this. Let me play Magic.
Yeah, it is an odd one, and it was really hard to build a deck. Like, I don't know if it's maybe just because it's on the phone and it's better on the PC, but it took me absolutely ages to build this deck. And then I was like 1 wild card short, so I couldn't craft all. It was just like, no. It didn't tell me like how many wild cards I was off. It was just like, you do not have enough, go away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. I eventually got it working and I played some games of ranked and stuff like that. But yeah, it doesn't feel like playing Magic. Ultimately, it means I see some standard cards because I basically have no clue what any of these standard cards do.
Yeah, I say I wouldn't know. To be fair, I've once drafted because someone tweeted that there was some free draft or something or whatever one time, like 8 months ago, and I tried it on my phone. It's awful. Like you're tapping things or you're trying to drag things and it doesn't work what you think it should do on your phone. It's not for me. I'll stick to Magic Online.
Yeah, I think another big thing that came from playing standard as well, like I didn't really realize how bad the power creep was. But like obviously playing Pauper and playing Legacy mostly, it sort of doesn't really feel that bad. But then you go to standard and like standard now, after I think the last time I played standard was original Ixalan, so however long that was ago till now.
Yeah.
It's literally like playing modern, like but maybe pre-Horizons modern.
Yeah.
Like to that power level. The cards are insane that are like just like 5 mana angels that are 3/3 flyers and they bring two, like they reanimate 2 guys when you cast them and stuff like this.
Jesus.
Like Jesus. So yeah, it's been interesting getting back into standard, trying arena. Interesting week of Magic.
I just imagined everything would draw a card in standard nowadays. That's my.
Well, I mean, yeah, it does seem to. Or like just gain. Everything just has gain life tacked on it. Like search for a land, gain 3 life, kill this creature, gain 2 life, do this, gain 4 life.
The best way to make games last longer.
Yeah. But then everyone's just playing this domain deck, which just seems OP. It literally just seems like that Omnath deck in modern. It's like layer line binding for 1, stuff like that.
Is there shocks or something in? Are shocks in standard?
There's triomes. I imagine the shocks are about being right, because unless they're not in Markov mana.
Whatever it's called.
Whatever the mana set is, it's in Ravnica. Or is it in Ravnica or is it in Innistrad? It's either in Innistrad or it's Ravnica. And it's either Karlov or Markov. I don't know which one it is, but there might be shocks in standard at some point, but I don't think they are right now.
Right. But there's triomes.
But triomes are, which are just better for domain.
Yeah. In a less powered format, triomes will be better anyways. Yeah. That's fair.
Anyway, that's enough standard for the Pauper podcast.
Yes.
What have you been doing?
Well, I have been testing super hard Pauper. So, there you go. I have probably played about, I want to say, I've been off since like before Christmas because the wife went back to work. So I've kind of been just playing, like obviously while little one's been asleep or whatever, just playing one-handed because it's really easy to play Magic Online one-handed. Can't play Fortnite one-handed, unfortunately. So, but yeah, so I've been playing a lot. I've probably played about, for me, which is a lot, probably about 15, maybe 18 leagues or something. And I've tried all sorts of different glitters variations. I've tried Dredge a few times. I tried Gardens just to make sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it really. Like I've tried brewing my own glitters variation. I've tried like Zamu's glitters variation, which is like a Boros deck with a bunch of burning. I've tried Walker's versions. I've tried blue-white with Moonsaga Hacker. Yeah, just really I'm enjoying casting all that glitters at the minute. Pretty much it. Or Dread Return and Lotless Giant as well. But that doesn't seem to happen very often because all that's in versus Colgate. Which
there definitely is a lot of Colgate at the moment, to be fair.
Which isn't too bad, to be fair, because I think I've mastered the Jeskai Glitters versus Colgate matchup, and it's basically submit 60 regardless what it is, because it's just every time I sideboard I lose. So I just keep it as a 16, it's just fine, it's just miles better.
Just never sideboard.
Just never sideboard. Like I have End of Festivities or Seal of Fire in the sideboard, just don't even bother. I will just keep normal 60 and it seems to work. So
yeah. I guess Colgate sort of lacks that instant speed removal, so if you can set up for a glitters, like get something through with the glitters on, you're probably winning that game.
Yeah. I think I'm about like 8-1 in overall matches, but a lot of the time I do lose like games 2 and like mainly games 2, to be fair, and it goes to game 3, and most of my game 2 losses with them finding double or triple dust to dust in the top like 12.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's pretty much my only game losses is obscene amount of dust to dusts, which is what it is. But yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get away from that at the moment, unfortunately.
No, definitely
You're
not.
playing against white, they've got dust to dusts.
Very, very true. But other than that, carried on obviously starting writing again. Took a bit of a break off for Christmas. And my Orzhov or Black White Blade deck guide should be coming out shortly. Like deck type guide, but guide, so it's pretty cool. Got some spice alternate card choices, you know, which I can't even pronounce the name, I'm not gonna lie. But it's a cool card. Yeah, that's about it. Anything else like to add before we move on to the news?
No, go for it.
So, tournament news, obviously the Northern Pauper Open is not far off now, 18th of Feb. Of course, we will be there as cast and comments. The event will be in Leeds. There is a cap of 64 players, and we've already had over half the tickets have sold. So if you are considering going, I would highly recommend buying your tickets. It is a really well-run event, as always. Really great prize support as well. Like, usually, I think the last event, there was the person in last didn't get a prize. I think was the only one. I think
the 63 other players did.
Yeah, and 63 other players did. I actually think they gave them a pack just because it was the only one that didn't get a prize or something. But yeah, really great prize support. Obviously the winner. I actually don't know what the first place prize is, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you this time.
This time I don't know. I imagine it's a secret lair.
Yeah.
Usually it's a bunch of packs and a secret lair.
Yeah. I wouldn't know. I've never won one. Obviously.
But yeah, obviously Wizards have sort of stopped some amount of WPN support, I think. So I don't know if secret lairs are still given free.
No idea.
But yeah, it'll be a bunch of packs plus something for first.
So this is how committed we are. We're just going regardless.
It's fun.
It's just fun, well-run events. Other than that, obviously we've got the Pauper 2K as well in Binghamton, New York. There's obviously 2 of them. The first one is, they're both are Dragon Master games, but the first one is the week after the Northern Pauper one, which is the February 24th. So if you want to do a lot of travelling, you can go to both. And the other is obviously April 6th, which is obviously a lot further away. They are guaranteed $2,000 prize pool to the top 8. And it goes all the way down to top 16 if they receive 50 or more players. The venue has a size of 100. So if you would like to go, please check out the description below to get your information, to get your tickets now. I do and can confirm Callie will be there. So if you want to go ask him to sign your Sunscape Familiars or your Ultratrons, I guess, get over there. Get your combo pieces out and give him a Sharpie. Other than that, there are a few UK events that have been appearing around on like Twitter feeds and things. I highly recommend following @PauperDan on Twitter if you live in the UK, because he posts and retweets any UK based event. So I'd definitely look at checking those out. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Anything else to add before we move on to the news?
There was another event, but I have forgotten where it is and what it was. So
yeah,
I'll add that next week.
Yeah, there's 2 events. One was in like High Wycombe in London, and the other one was in like Stockport or something.
Stockport, that was it.
Yeah. So there's those 2 events, but again, just check those out on the Dan's Twitter. That is the best place to find stuff like that. Yeah. Other than that, moving on, we obviously had our giveaway, and in case you missed it, it finished on Friday, and I drew the winner out on Friday the 12th, and the winner of the bundle was Nix. Congratulations. I'll be obviously getting in touch with yourself to see the best way to get it to yourself. Simple as, quite quick and easy, and a bit anticlimactic, but oh well. Anyways, on to the stuff that everyone is here for. That is the magical challenges. Saturday
the 13th of January. there was only 39 players, but I believe Magic Online crashed like 60,000 times. And it was it delayed like two plus hours or something like that. So that might have something to do with there only being 39 players.
Also, wasn't mentioned either. It wasn't like here's a tweet or anything. There was no information that it had been delayed. Like a lot of people just accidentally logged on and realised it was starting in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I imagine that's definitely got something to do with the lower number of players then.
And that's probably the reason why the top 8 is probably wild as hell.
Yeah. But yeah, very interesting top 8. First place was Elves. Second place was Grixis Affinity. Third place was Elves again. Fourth was Monoblue Terror. Fifth was Gardens. Sixth, Kuldotha Red. Seventh was Corgate. Eighth was Blue-White Glitters. And then the near misses. Ninth was Monoblue Terror. And 10th was Walls. I believe it was Combo Walls, right?
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, a pretty diverse, pretty interesting top 8. Some decks like Elves and Walls that we haven't really seen up there for a while, which is pretty sweet. Always good to see Elves win, given it's sort of a pretty old school Pauper deck at this point. It hasn't really gained any new tools that I can see in that list. At all. I think the newest things like a Masked Vandal in the main. But other than that, yeah, just fairly sweet elf list. And yeah, interesting top 8.
Yeah. So yeah, there was obviously 2 green combo decks that obviously did really well, as you say, Elves and Walls. There was 3 pilots playing Elves, and all three were in the top 16.
Yeah.
Obviously 2 in the top 8, and I think there was 4 Walls players. There might have been 3, but again, 3 of them were in the top 16. So pretty impressive event in all round for green creature combo decks. Pretty cool to see. Then after that, obviously we got your standard one of Kuldotha in the top 8, and the rest are fairly common as you expect them to see. Like Gardens has kind of made a sort of resurgence after being down for the past couple of weeks. People have obviously just decided to pick this up again for whatever reason. And the only thing that baffles me as well is Grixis Affinity. How the heck does that lose to Elves, please? Like, especially when I looked at Luffy's list, it's like...
It's a pretty odd Grixis list, though, as well, if you look at it. Like, there's only one Thoughtcast.
Yeah.
And it's just all in on like 4 Dispute, 4 Bargain, and then like the early stuff with like the Candy Trails and stuff like that. But yeah, 3 Crackland in the main does a lot of work as well as the makeshift munitions, but you have to find them, I suppose. I
guess. Just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just look at this list and I'm like, I checked if Luffy had split, and I was like, and my response I got was, Luffy doesn't split, so I was like, all right, okay. So he must have lost, and I'm thinking, how? Like, must have got seriously unlucky. But
to be fair, Elves is a deck that if you don't deal with it, it can kill you very quickly. Obviously, playing Cast Downs instead of Galblast is probably a bit worse. It costs 2 mana rather than 1, and hits exactly the same stuff. So if you just got a bit of a slow draw with no Crackland, I can see Elves running over him pretty handily. Be interesting to see if the one of Spell Pierce from the Elf deck came up. And I guess Mass Vandal in the main as well can do some work. Like if it's a slow draw and you can nuggle land or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is one you would think Grixis would be favoured. But yeah, I can always see where Elves could pull something out the hat.
Yeah. That's fair.
Obviously, the other thing I've noted is that the Glitters deck, obviously we're pretty used to having a Glitters deck in the top 8, but it's blue-white again rather than Jeskai. And it's a pretty stock blue-white. It's the one with the one of Phyrexian Walker. But yeah, there's nothing particularly spicy about it. It's just fairly stock blue-white. It's one of those decks, if you draw well, you pretty much just run through any other deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really I'm sold on blue-white. I don't know. I just think the random, like, Phyrexian Walker or slash inclusions that they like to put in, and then Moonsirker Hacker really gets me down on this deck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not a big fan. But yeah, I think it's Ardent Recruit's time to shine. I just love that card. Card feels so good at the moment.
Yeah, it does feel very good. It's one of those that I could sort of. Can you just build the blue white with that in and a slightly tweaked draw engine?
Yeah.
Like it obviously works pretty well with your of one minds. Like you could just take out Moonsirker Hackers and put Ardent Recruits in or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still good to see that deck doing well. After most people sort of just write it off and play Jeskai, but still performing. Obviously, Terra still consistent. Still just Terras in every top 8 ever.
Is it worthwhile even mentioning Terra at this point? Like Terra's like, yep, okay, it's Terra, cool, move on.
Yeah, it's. I guess the relevant bit is it's mono. The both of them are mono blue.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, apart from that, there's sort of not much more than you would expect. They've adopted obviously Murmur and Mystic into the main. Yeah, Terra is Terra. Still very good.
Do you want to touch on the mono red deck? Because I don't know how spicy. Like I don't really follow mono red still. So like, is Seal of Fire, Goblin Grenade, Mutagenic Growth out there, or is it stock now? Or
yeah, so I think the way mono red goes is there isn't really a stock list as of yet. There's basically like 3 variations, and they just switch essentially 4 to 5 cards between them.
Yeah.
The Mutagenic Growth Goblin Grenade one's definitely one I've seen before. Sometimes they play some extra Goblin Grenades, like 2. Sometimes they play more Seal of Fires. Sometimes they play Lotus Petals. Yeah. Kuldoffer be Kuldoffer. Basically, your creatures are essentially the same. Sometimes they cut a Bushwhacker, but yeah, you've got your 16 creature Goblin-y plus Epicure package. Your Kuldoffer Rebirth, your Lightning Bolts, lands basically always the same. Sometimes they run a one of Autonomous Furnace. Yeah. Seal of Fire seems to be the main one that's picked up at the moment. Most of them just seem to have Seal of Fires in the main.
Which, after playing a lot of Jeskai Glitters, I can definitely understand why. Seal of Fire is house at the minute. It just does so much.
Just being able to tap out and still just have your removal up is nuts, especially with a deck where you are just playing something every single turn.
Yeah. And it just interacts so well with a lot of like the stuff that you want to hit. Like it just interacts so positively. Like there's not really anything that you really care about that it doesn't hit in my eyes as well. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, obviously slightly worse for going first, but a lot better in matchups where you want to hit a creature. I guess one thing that is starting to come back a bit is the Dwarven Forged Shanna, mostly in sideboards. But yeah, nice to see. It's a really good, really efficient creature. Obviously, it doesn't work as well with the whole Goblin package, but it's a nice sideboard option against like gardens and such.
But again, just obviously we touched on the first place Elves list cutting on a Vanguard, and we were talking obviously about before this because of the black removal spells taking a tick up, and I guess obviously Chanter's the same in the sense that obviously with a lot of black removal, like obviously Grixis Affinity's running Cast Down, you've obviously got Gardens, you've got blue-black Fae making a resurgence in full force. Like Chanter just seems pretty house in general at the minute. Good shout.
But yeah, also this list doesn't really have that much like end of festivities effect. It's got 2 in the side and then a 1 cast into the Via, which is pretty mediocre really. Against Elves.
Makes sense.
Interesting one. Interesting topic.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it for me.
We will move on to our deep dive deck, which is the 17th place mono red Tron. So the original deck creator Floyzer obviously like ended up going like 16-4 with this deck in like leagues. Seems to be the only person that actually 5-0'd with it in leagues as well over the past few weeks. Obviously with Daybreak being absolutely immense and printing 5-0s from the day. The deck's wild. I have played this deck and it is crazy. So before we touch on it, it may be a bit weird. It sounds weird as well when you it even looks weird when you look at it. So essentially, Shadowrun 17th came 17th with this. Usually, I believe Shattering was on like Ponza back when Ponza was quite big, so must just like boredom party decks. But
Yeah. I feel like I've seen them play Tron before as well.
So effectively, this deck, the mana base is the weird one. So we'll start with the mana base. So it runs 4 Urza's Tower, 3 Urza's Power Plant, 3 Urza's Mine, 7 Mountains, and 1 Smouldering Crater. So obviously, one of the first time I've ever seen it as a Tron deck that doesn't actually run 4 of each Tron land, and only runs 4 of towers, which, when you actually play the deck, kind of makes sense. But you look at it, honestly, you look at it and you're like, why? But it really, really does. Like nine times out of 10, you end up mapping for a mountain because you just don't care. Like your deck is very small.
It doesn't play like the filtering artifacts.
No.
And basically all of your bombs, other than self-assemblers, cost red. As well as all your removal costs red, and your Rolling Thunders cost red. So it's pretty red heavy without the ability to fix colourless into red.
Yeah. And I've found as well, with obviously like Candy Trail and things like that, you end up naturally finding your Tron pieces anyways as you go along. It's not the end of the world. Like you've got a lot of ways to just keep hitting land drops. So you run 18 lands, plus you've got the 4 Oliphants, then you have 4 Candy Trails, and then obviously you've got your 4 Volcanic Spites as well, which are all just really good cards to just keep filtering to draw what you need. So
and 4 maps, obviously,
and 4 maps as well.
Stop Tron.
But the original build that they ran as well only ran 3 maps, and then like after like a few times they're like, oh, maps just needed because even if you just get a red source.
Yeah.
But effectively after that, your creatures is 4 Boredom Parties, 4 Crimson Fleet Commodore, 3 Filigree Familiar, 4 Oliphants, and 4 Self-Assemblers. So they're all basically red threats by the Filigree Familiar and the Self-Assemblers, but Filigree Familiar is more just like a dude that gains life and stems the bleeding, and then draws a card when it dies. Obviously, Commodore and Boredom Party are pirates, so the mass removal spell is Fiery Cannonade, so it doesn't kill the Commodores and things, which it runs it as a 2 of. And then after that, there's 4 Lightning Bolts, 2 Magmatic Sinkholes, and 4 Volcanic Spite. Or there's the one with the eye. I actually can't remember the name of the card, but it's the exact same card, but it has a picture of an eye on it.
The one with the eye.
Yeah, I can't.
They're basically a 2-mana instant, deals 3 to a creature, and you can put a card from your hand to the bottom and draw a card.
Yes. It is like, apart from the Planeswalker or Battle, it's like word for word the card functionally in Pauper, and I just can't remember what it's called. And then to round it off, there is 3 Rolling Thunders as the sorcery. And this deck is honestly, it's wild as out to play. And the only way I can describe it is you really need to know this deck, because apart from these two are the only 2 people I've seen do well with this. I know a lot of content creators that have obviously jumped on to play in this deck, and everyone has said they suck ass with it. It is incredible. I did bad with it, and that's not saying much to be fair, but it really is hard to play. Honestly, I don't even know why it is, and it's just mental. But these 2 players, like the original creator, obviously, Floyzer, I think he 5-0'd into 5-0 into 5-0 into like 3-4 ones. Like he had an incredible record with it. But then I played this deck and
Did you record it?
I went to, but it was that bad. I gave up halfway through. I was like, this is... So it'll be one that I'll definitely be retrying to do. But the deck is sweet, and it's so different to play, and it's definitely refreshing.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just seeing a different take on Tron is nice, because we just basically haven't had one for ages. It's basically just been Ultratron, which no one plays online, and then like Flickertron.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. So yeah, seeing even just a monocolored, like aggressively slanted Tron list is really cool. Having access to all that removal, obviously, you said it's 4 bolts, 4 Volcanic Spites, and then a couple of singles, a couple of cannonades, and 3 Rolling Thunders. Like that's just a huge amount of removal for a Tron deck to have
Yeah.
access to. And then obviously your bombs are just pretty stellar with self-assembler being a 4/4 Squadron Hawk, and then Boredom Party is just very good.
Yeah.
Sideboard wise, 4 Pirate Spellbomb is an interesting one.
Yeah.
It's not one I expected to see in a sideboard.
The only thing I can draw, it's very similar to Seal of Fire, is my only conclusion I can come with in a Tron deck.
But you can cast it off the Tron land, yeah.
Yeah, is the only thing I've come up with this. That if obviously the Seal of Fire side isn't needed, at least you can sacrifice it to draw a card in your whole look at all my mana.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. I definitely didn't expect to see a Pirate Spellbomb, to be fair, but definitely spicy.
No less 4 of them. And yeah, 4 Casting at the Fire as well. Casting at the Fire at the moment seems to be having a bit of a resurgence.
Yeah.
It was one of those that it got hyped quite a lot when Lord of the Rings came out. Saw quite a bit of sideboard play immediately and then dropped off, but it seems to be coming back quite a bit now.
Yeah.
Maybe just the meta is sort of shaping up in a bit better for it with all the Glitters decks playing small creatures. Obviously got Kuldotha playing small creatures as well. And Colgate and Fae. So yeah, it seems to, the 2 mods seem to be hitting a lot of things at the moment.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like the main thing that I've noticed is it's pretty good against Glitters in general. Obviously, you don't really like where Affinity puts a lot of like Grixis Affinity puts a lot of stuff into play, and you care about most of the stuff. Like Jeskai Glitters, they put a bunch of stuff in the play unless it's a Mirror Enforcer or putting Glitters on it. You don't really care.
Yeah.
Is the consensus I've seen, and that kind of makes Casting the Fire a bit better in my eyes.
Yeah. I think just the like bit of a resurgence of like Spell Stutter Sprite and the like making the top mode a bit more useful is very
That's
good.
a good one as well. To round off the sideboard, there's 4 Rebs against blue decks at this point. Terror, people don't like to verse that card. Obviously another Cannonade, which helps, and then 2 Flaring Pains, which again seems to be making a big uptick. I keep seeing it a lot in random sideboards, and I'm assuming it's just there's a lot of strands about. And
I was going to say Flaring Pain's like a bit of an interesting one in this deck, but if you want to roll and thunder out like a Colgate play, or even like White Weenie and that, you need to get around the strands. A lot of you guys can attack through the strands anyway with your self-assemblers and your familiars, but
I guess another thing is Guardian of the Guild Pact as well. Like if you want to be aggressive with your boredom parties, it allows obviously to go through the protection, which is pretty interesting. But
very sweet list.
Very sweet deck, and I really do like the idea of challenging the whole 4/4/4 of Tower Power Plant thing. Like it's mental how they came to that conclusion, because obviously if I was to build a mono red Tron deck, I would never ever ever think I need to go down to 10 Tron lands. And it's just, kudos, for sure.
So you just play 4 of the best one, obviously. You want 4 of that, and then you just trim on the other 2.
Yeah. Mental, really.
It'd be more interesting if there were like 4 power plant, 4 mine, 3 tower. There'd be some serious thought gone into that.
They've like done like 1,000 game analysis on which is the most cleanse and wildfire as a land. But yeah,
it's always the 2.
It's very true. But yeah, so that is our deep deck dive. Pretty sweet one. Floizer. Yeah, I always keep thinking it was Flower for some reason, but Floizer, keep it up. Deck's great, and shout out obviously Chaton for piloting it so well into just missing out on the top 16 of the challenge as well. Very, very sweet. Would you like to move on to Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday the 14th. No Magic Online crashes, so 75 players, which seems to be what we're just averaging is like 70 plus players per challenge, which is obviously really good. First place was Blue Black Terror, second place Blue Black Fae, third was Kuldotha, fourth was Gardens, fifth was Fams, sixth Boros Initiative, seventh another copy of Gardens, eighth Grixis Affinity, And then 9th and 10th were Grixis Affinity and the Jeskai Wildfire.
Mm.
So this is a bit more return to what we expect. Obviously, the elves have gone. It is nice to see Boros Initiative actually doing well again. That was something that looked really strong when we seen it come out the gates like a month or so ago, and then just sort of disappeared. So it's nice to see that again.
Yeah, I think it's a sweet deck, to be fair. I really do like it, and I really wanted to like. I've tested this as well. It seems like my kind of dirtly mid-rangey deck. So I was dead up for this. But every single time I played this deck, my removal never lined up right, and I just kept dying because it was either didn't line up with my where my lands were, or it didn't line up with the deck I was versing. And it does seem very much like that. That it obviously feels sometimes a bit clunky or feels like it's fallen short, but the deck has a really great raw power level. In principle, obviously, Wildfire's a strong card, Initiative's a strong card. Your Ephemerate loops are obviously great, like especially with having access to it in a non-blue deck. Like everyone associates Jeskai Wildfire or all these blue-white like familiars and stuff as having the broken Ephemerate loops. Like having it in non-blue decks is definitely a strong thing to have access to. Even though it probably must be miserable to be Stonehorn Dignitary out of forever, but yeah.
In the main as well, not even in the sides. The main plan.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool deck though. Strands will obviously pull a lot of weight too, especially at keeping the initiative. Cool deck.
Yeah, I think especially at the moment, Strands is probably just one of the most powerful cards, or one of the most powerful things you can be doing in Pauper. Another good showing for Grixis Affinity as well. No glitters in the top 10. I'm not sure where the next glitters were. 11. We did Jeskai glitters in 11th. But yeah, a good showing for Grixis again, proving it's not dead and it can compete with the glitters for the artifact deck slot.
It's definitely a strong deck, and I'm surprised it definitely is. Obviously, I feel like it probably is one of the best one of the most well positioned decks in the format, especially if you build it right. But there's so many different ways to build. Like I've tried a few lists of Grixis because I thought the deck was pretty strong, but I'm really not a Grixis Affinity player like at all. Like as of late with Cast Down and things, I always felt like the way I played, I fell short because of not having access to Galv Blast and things. And the deck can definitely compete. It's just definitely not for me to play in a controlling manner like obviously these are built up to be.
Yeah, I think the lists as well, like they differ so much from list to list. Like they haven't really. It's similar to the mono red sort of crack where they haven't got a super stock list.
Yeah.
It's more just like preference or how you want to win the game. So finding that like and jumping on the correct list for you is probably not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
I guess touching on that, the third place mono red list. Again, different from the Saturday list. This one was on the 4 Galvanics, 18 lands with the Autonomous Furnace. Yeah, basically the main difference is you cut 5 cards, put 5 different cards in.
Still on Seal of Fire as well.
Yeah. Seal of Fire is basically stock now from what I've seen.
Yeah.
The main flex is obviously like the Galvanic Blasts and the like Goblin Grenade type engine cards.
Yeah.
Fams 5th.
He did it.
Been a while.
So JN obviously came. Was it 3rd or 5th or something? Did you say
5th?
So yeah, he came 9th last week. I told him to try harder on the podcast. So he messaged me and said I tried harder, and he came 5th. So yeah, it was great. I'm glad. I'm here to spur you on. You've got this. Can we get top 4 next week? Let's go. Let's do this. But in seriousness, deck is pretty. It doesn't look as clean as the last list though, which is also an interesting thing. Like there's a lot more like spices in like one-offs. You've obviously got one of Dawnbringer. They've got the one of False Summoning, which is basically the Essence Scatter, right?
Yeah. It's just a lot of words that say this and Scar.
Yes. Then you've got like a one-off Strands, which obviously Strands is really good right now. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it seems a bit more, yeah, has a bit more to it. But yeah, seems to work out. I'm surprised not on the hard counters. I've seen quite a few go to counterspell as like the actual counter, because prohibit sometimes doesn't hit a lot what you want.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I guess maybe that's where the false summonings come in pretty clutch. Obviously, there's 2 excludes in the sideboard and an extra false summoning, so they're really big on the anti-creature counterspells. I guess with four chanceries and the familiars as well, counterspell can be a bit of a hard sell.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of, like, as you say, and scatters. Like, the deck does struggle with the initiative, and obviously if there's Boros initiative about Gardens, about being prepared for matchups that are terrible for you, I guess is probably a good one.
Interesting too. Cop blues in the side.
I hate Terra. Clearly.
Yeah.
One thing they chose not to lose to, and that was Terra today, I guess. But yeah, definitely a sweet one. I also like the fact that Nature's Chance seems to be like the sideboard artifact and enchantment hit. As of late, like Dust to Dust is a bit worse in FAMs, but obviously getting discounted with Familiars is obviously great, and also just hitting and all that glitters, even if they put it on like a Glinthawk or a Ardent Recruit or whatever, is pretty nice. I like it. Pretty sweet one. What was the other thing that I wanted to mention? I can't remember. Yeah, and I guess obviously, Blue Black Terror. That's what it was. Obviously, Blue Black Terror took home the bacon, but it was like a split. So obviously, Bako and Mog, who came first and second, with Blue Black Terror and Blue Black Face split. But still, great performance for Blue Black Terror, and I still think this is not necessarily this list, but I don't know why. I still just think Blue Black is just the way to go in my eyes. I don't know. I just like Blue Black. I like being able to snuff things out or cast down things. Just makes me feel better.
Yeah, the Unexpected Fangs is also a pretty clutch one as well. That you get from being black. But yeah, it seems still very 50-50, if not skewed to mono blue. Like player wise, but
yeah.
It is an interesting one.
For sure. Yeah, and I do think looking at that, Mogged obviously went up on lands. I think previously since Lorians came in, they were like sold on like 16. We've seen a couple of lists be a bit different, obviously with Cryptic Serpent in there, but this has gone straight onto the basically 8 1-mana 5/5s in 4 Gurmags, 4 Terrors, which, to be honest, I'm not surprised at, because a lot of people, if the red, seem to just say, it's alright, I'll deal with Terror with Reb, and just and that kind of fixes it, where obviously Gurmag Angler gets around that a lot easier. So, but yeah, pretty cool. Nice to see Blue Black Terror make a return, I guess.
Yeah, I think my last thing to note, it's a sad one. There's no Dredge in all 75 players.
Yeah. The more I play that deck, I think I said to you before, the more I play that deck, I really do like the deck, but it definitely needs a specific window, because I feel like it can't beat 2 to 3 pieces of hit. Like, if someone just goes, it's okay, I'll put Relic in my deck, and I'm like White Weenie or Mono Red, you're laughing, because you can beat that hit. Like, you can beat a Relic, but as soon as you get Relic plus Counterspell plus Strands, or Counters plus Relic, or Strands plus Counters, you know what I mean? Like, as soon as you get like a mix of it, you just can't compete. You can't sideboard in each hate card for each, and it just gets annoyingly awkward. But deck is sweet to play. It's definitely fun, for sure. Definitely a fun one, but I just don't think it's as good as I wish it was. Big Sag. Would you like to move on?
Yeah, go for it.
So, I guess, first of all, shout out to GN for the top 8. Obviously, great to see. You know, I spurred you on, and then you finally top 8. Congrats. It was all me. Also, shout out to Bako for the split in the Pauper challenge. Obviously, doing incredibly well. Obviously, over the Player of the Year thing. Great start to the year. But the real MVP of the shout out definitely goes to Mogged for the whole weekend achievement. 3 challenges, technically 2 wins in a top 8, even though he split one of them. He won the standard, top 80 the vintage, and then split the Pauper challenge. That is a impressive weekend of magic.
Guy had a very free weekend.
Well, how you're rolling it.
Yeah. No, it's very very good.
And I think that's all my shout-outs. Hot takes from last week?
Yeah. My first one from last week was that there will be less blue decks in the top 8s, which was thankfully true. We had quite a nice mix, actually, with the Sunday had, I believe, 4 non-blue decks in the top 8.
I think they both
and
did.
the Saturday had, similar. Yeah, 4 again. Which is a bit more what we want to see. Blue can be good, but if it's just 4 decks, that's fine. If it's 7 decks, that's a bit of an issue.
Yes, I agree. Mine was the opposite. So I wanted a full blue. I didn't actually want a full blue top 8, top 10 in one of the challenges, but it didn't happen. We got 50%. I think even was it? Oh no, it was slightly over 50% on the Sunday, but it's still 50% on the Saturday because there was a non-blue deck with walls, and then Terror in the 9th and 10th. But
his combo walls non-blue. He sort of plays blue cards.
It's about as blue as
Yeah.
Gardens with circle protection, running fucking circle protection in the sideboard. That white thing. Do you know what I mean? How much that's white? If that makes sense.
I sort of get what you mean.
Yeah.
My last one from last week was that Walker would get another top 8 with his Jeskai Glitters list, but I don't think he played, so we'll see if that happens next week.
I do believe his list was in the there's a few of them in the challenge, like the Add and Recruit Rens Resolves. I'm sure I've seen like a few people on it, but he didn't play himself, unfortunately. So my last one, I'm counting this, by the way. This is me counting this right now. So I said Grixis Affinity will have 2+ copies in one of the top 8s, and one of them, it was 8th and 9th. Like literally didn't top 8 due to tiebreakers. Like, come on, it's close. It's close enough.
Yeah, and it got second on the Saturday as well, right? So it was definitely a good week for Grixis Affinity. Not as good as you wanted it to be, but yeah, I would still outcount that.
By not as good. Basically, one guy got like 0.0001% worse tiebreaker. Like deck top 10, 2 of them in the top 10 in one weekend, and 1 in the Saturday is pretty good. Great. My point of Grixis Affinity is a good choice to take. Is definitely counting. For sure. Hot takes for next week?
Yeah. Where are we at? I'm on the wrong place in the document. I've just confused myself. My first one is I don't know why I keep doing this, to be honest, but Dredge will top 8. After a few weeks away, no one's been playing it. It's ready to come back.
We just really want it to be good. That's our problem.
I just believe in the fun deck.
It is fun, and it definitely can win, but I really do want this deck to win. I really do. I really want you to be right, because I think this deck is a blast.
I feel like it's just a guaranteed loss of a hot take, but yeah.
We can hope. My next one is Glitters decks will have 2 copies in the top 8. And my main reason for that is because I finally think someone is going to figure out how to play Jeskai, because Jeskai Glitters is all over the place at the minute.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Glitters is one of those where we basically just never see that many in top 8. There's always like 1.
Yeah. Then
like another one in the top 16.
Yeah. If you put them both together though, like it's in Blue, White and Jeskai, it's the most played deck. Like they played significant. I think it was like 17% throughout both challenges. Like it's pretty good going. It's just I think that the Jeskai pilots are also different all over the place. It's got like the cold author issue. They just don't know where they want to be. And once everyone figures out how to run it, I think it'll get there. But it's just getting to that point.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a powerful deck. I think just there's still loads of dust to dust as well, though. Which especially the Jeskai version. can struggle with, just because its mana base is so much slower and clunkier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Glitters is very good. Whether we'll get 2 in the top 8 or not is
it's time.
I'm not sure on.
It's time.
My next one was that we'll see more non-Kuldotha aggressive decks. Top 8. So the likes of like White Weenie, Heroic, Boros Glitters, Elves, I guess. I'll throw Elves in there. Yeah.
Maybe
hopefully they'll come back.
Maybe it's Boggle's time to return because of all the cast downs.
Yeah.
Maybe. But what I actually think is, because I'm really high on Glitters today, don't lie, but the only 2 aggro decks we will see is Glitters and Kuldotha. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, that's bold, because what are you counting as aggro decks, though?
Right, well, I'm not counting...
Like, it's Mono Blue Terror.
No, Mono Blue Terror is not an aggro deck. It makes 1 mana 5/5s on turn 3, but it's not aggro. It has counterspell, it can't be aggressive. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's how it works. In my head, if it's playing counterspell, not aggro. By that logic, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
But yeah, out of, that's where I'm going with this. Glitters, Kuldotha, they are the aggro decks of choice. Unfortunately.
So when that mono red Tron list, are we classing that as aggro? If that top 8. Pretty aggressive, right?
Maybe. Not really, but maybe. I guess.
Yeah, an interesting one.
But I do hope there's more. I'm all for more diversity, but I do think those 2 are definitely the stronger ones, to the point where I don't think people will play White Weenie or Heroic when they can just jam all that Glitters on a Ginger Brute.
It is awkward. But I think All That Glitters is one of those cards where it's obviously good that it's made some new decks, but it probably would have been better for the format if it just didn't say Artifact on it.
Yes. 100%.
And then it would go in the existing decks that needed a boost, and not just make 2 of the best decks in the format.
Yes. Let's just get them to get rid of All That Glitters and then add in another Ethereal Armor.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Just have that. Easy. We're not asking for much. Even though, I think I'm playing Glitters at the Northern Pauper Open, so please don't change that until then. Thank you. I just can't.
Everyone bring your dust to dust.
Anything else?
No, that's it from me.
So, guys, thank you all for listening. If you have enjoyed the podcast, please do not forget to share it with your friends, your family, your local Pauper community, everyone who loves it. But also, do not forget to like and subscribe and hit that follow button so you never miss an upload. It really does help us with, obviously, exposure and the algorithm to share, look, ooh, you're listening. So, really, it's a great way to support us, and it's completely free. So, guys, if you have enjoyed this podcast, that is all from us at Casting Comments. Until next time, and do not forget to stay hydrated. Peace.
Bye.